lovely lot, and welcome to the beautiful Cudmore Fisheries on my favouriteest Silvers Lake in the whole wide world, folks. Yes, we are on the Jumble Lake. Weather is not what it was forecast, folks, but that doesn't matter because today it's all about winning ways basics, and we're going to be going through winter silvers. You're getting into winter silvers, just one line in it, keeping the fish on the bottom, and in particular sort of skimmers. There's all sorts of fish in here, folks, and obviously the fisheries that you're going to, I'm sure there's going to be loads of mixed fish in there as well, but we're paying special attention to skimmers and catching them. So we'll be going through rigs in a sec, and obviously bait after that, but the main thing that I want to get across to you on this is the mix with the ground bait, the all-important ground bait mix. As we know, skimmers absolutely adore ground baits. Everyone's got their own personal preference and things like that. But it's a certain way that I'm going to mix the ground bait, from how I start off to how I end up and how many fish I'm catching on, a particular feed. That's what we're going to be getting over. So I've just picked one swim at sort of 30 metres. Yes, you can have your other swims as well, obviously, your 6 metre line where you can loose feed, but this one is all about that all-important long line where, let's face it, folks, you're going to get most of your bites. Most of your fish are going to be coming off that long pole swim, just because the fish get confident. As soon as that water starts to clear up a little bit, where are we now? We are second week in October, and it's already visible that we've had a lot of rain this last week. The water's starting to clear up. Not as many fish topping, and it's the fish want to be on the bottom. So that's why the fish get more confident the further out you go. So first up, let's go through the rig. Nice. I love simple rigs, folks, and it doesn't get any simpler than this. One top kit. First things first, let's get Rich zoomed in on that beautiful single sixes slip elastic. My personal favourite elastic ever, folks. Honestly, it's probably it is the cheapest on the market, and it'll last you flipping ages. This is my second season with this bad boy, and it's still like going proper. You've got to obviously treat it nice. You've got to treat it with a bit of lubricant every now and again. I love using this stuff. Jamie has his special conditioner and water mix. I ain't got a clue what the what's-its are, what the ratio is. I'm going to say 10 parts conditioner to 1 part water. Don't take it off that, folks. It's not really, but you know what I mean. But as long as you look after it, it's just the best elastic ever. Wallop into the fish. You don't bump them. Oh, flipping said it now, Anna. We're going to bump them. We're going to bump them, Richard, aren't we? We're not going to bump them. But it's this way as well that I want to show you this connection. I don't use Dacron. I don't use them little plastic connectors either. This, for me, is the best way of connecting. So basically, all I've got there is a double over hand loop. Pull it really tight, and then just trim the ends back. So you've got like a crow's foot. Remember the old school crow's foot? Those of you that fished like years ago, that's what we used to use. Now I've got the smallest Preston Dacron there. Completely taken the Dacron out, threaded that up the elastic first. Obviously, your line of your rig goes behind the knot, and then all we're doing is just pulling that down, and it's such a smooth connection. There's no bouncing or anything like that, and I've never ever had problems. The other thing about this elastic as well, folks, is that you will get some flipping massive carping on it. It's got a breaking strain of about 15 pound. You know what I mean? So the odd wobbly carp that you'll hook, obviously with it still being a little bit milder, we are going to encounter some larger specimens, and you won't have any trouble at all with that line cutting through. So that's that bit first. Main line is 0.16 AccuPower as always, folks. No need to go any heavier, and no need to go any lighter yet. When I start going lighter to like 0.14 would be after we've had the first couple of frosts. Don't need to yet, because I might want to, if there's some bigger bream feeding or getting the odd tench or crucians, whatever, I might want to go on a heavy hook length. Now, if I commit myself to go to a 0.14 main line, I don't want to be putting a 0.14 hook length on. But with this having a 0.16, I can go heavy hook length if needed. I'm not going to today, but if needed, I could do. So coming down the line, we've got, 18, 19 inches pull tip to float, just in case it gets a bit windy. 2 number 8s back shots. Very important, them folks. Use them on all my rigs, as you know. Sort of 4 to 6 inches above the float. And the float in question, in this case, is a 4/16 F1 Magpie. Now, obviously, we bang on about using carbon stems, wire stem floats all the time. Basically, you don't need to be using a wire stem yet. You could if you want to, absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. But for me, carbon stem still, and again, until we get the first sort of couple of frosts, and that is when I will exclusively go on to wire stem floats, just because of stability, that's all. But for now, carbon stem's not wrong with it. And then we've got, what was the depth there? So it's about 5 foot, isn't it? Might be 6, 5.5 foot, 5.5, 6 foot. And then coming down the rig, dead simple, folks. No need to mess around either yet with your tapered shotting or anything like that. We are fishing for, in one style, if you like, for one purpose only. I just want to bomb my bait down, get straight down to those fish on the bottom. Not interested in loose feeding, not interested in catching fish through the water. That's for your short line where you can loose feed. I'm focusing on getting the fish on the bottom and really sort of like pinning my bait over my little feed bait, which we'll go through in a sec. So, shotting wise, we've got a bulk of number 8s there. So you can see there's 12 inches. So they're set at what? Sort of 14, 15 inches. And then coming down the rig, we've got a single number 9 dropper, 3 or 4 inches away. 3 or 4 inches below that, we've got another number 9 dropper, and then you can see there's 6 inches, and I have got a 6-inch hook length on. Now, obviously, we talk about hook lengths quite a bit, don't we, folks? In that 4 inches and 3 inches, certainly over the summer. Even when it gets to winter, I will go to like a 4-inch one, just because the fish are not as active. Yeah, they just tend to sit over your bait, suck the bait in. You're just getting them tiny little dinks, which you wouldn't necessarily see on a 6-inch hook length. But, on a 6-inch hook length. But for this time of year, when it's still a bit warmer, the fish will watch your bait down, and you'll see me, I'll be giving it lots of lifts and drops. And I think with a 6-inch hook length, it's taking your bait down a lot more natural. So that's why I've gone for 6 inches. And in this case, straight out of the packet, we've got one of them bad boys on. 16s, SFLB to 0.11. Brilliant. You know what I mean? I can't time that good myself. I think they're awesome. You know how much I do love a pre-tied up limb. I'm going to put them back in there though, folks, because it's raining again. And that's a finished rig. Yeah, really, really simple. Nothing complicated with that. I will be putting a little babby pot on when we get going, but let me talk you through the baits I've got. So, remember, I'm not loose feeding. I want to, but I'm not loose feeding. We've got some casters. This is all for the ground bait mix, which we'll go through in a sec. We've got some casters there. I've chopped a few worms up. Now, you've got to be flipping careful with worms, folks. Obviously, little babby waspy perch, they're really common in a lot of waters this time of year, so you've got to be really careful with worm that you're putting in. However, I do want to put a bit of worm in because everything loves them. You know what I mean? Every single fish that you can think of, all the obviously natural juices in there, when you chop them right fine, they love them. I've not chopped them fine, which I would, possibly coming if I after smaller fish or coming into the winter. I've left a few sort of bigger segments, and segments like that, I could pick one of them out and put that on my hook quite easy. But I have got some worms that I'll just either hook a worm's head or a worm tail. Yeah, I've just got a few for the hook there. Ooh, nearly spilt them then. Just a few for the hook there. We've got some dead reds, which were froze this morning. I've just put them in water. They won't come back to. That's probably my number one bait for this time of year, all the way through winter for skimmers. Other than pellets, obviously, but we're not fishing pellets. Dead red maggots, the fish absolutely adore them. You know what I mean? You can be really fast with them as well. You can leave them on your hook and catch multiples of fish on that same bait. So I'll be using single and double dead red maggot. And then the next is the all-important ground bait. Now, very important with your ground bait mix. As I said at the start, folks, everyone's got their own personal preference. Personally, I do think your mix needs to be on the darker side. I don't like a light mix. I think it attracts them when the water goes a little bit clearer, but this time of year, just try and match the hatch, match the bottom of the lake bed if you like. Now, my favourite mix, even last year as well, was Sonny Bait Super Sweet and Thatcher's Green. Mix 50-50, mix it over wet, and the smells, folks, honestly, it's just amazing. So what I'll be doing first, I'll be getting a generous mix like that, and I'll be putting some dead red maggots, a bit of worm and some casters into that, and I'll be hardly squeezing it at all, just giving it like a squeeze like that. So it's basically, as soon as I put it in the water, from a foot down, it's going to expand out, and it might be over that area when we get to the bottom. Now what I want to do, the reason I'll feed like that is to just give myself an instant hit to draw fish in. But what will happen, obviously, the fish will soon start grazing on that. There's not much food in it. That's when I'm going to do my special sort of sticky mix. I don't even know what the mix is called. It's is it a pongo or something like that? I don't know, it's like a stodgy mix. I started using this a couple of years ago, you know, Bagger put us onto it when we went to Bradshaw's. And I started messing around and started using it and flipping heck, folks. I used it on a live match actually at Barlow Country Club, and I've just had success on it ever since. So what I'll be doing is getting a separate mix to the side, put it, in fact I'm going to mix it now as it's ready. So the way to mix it, handful and a bit in there, that'll last you flipping ages, that, folks. And then I want to put me loose offerings in first. I don't want to make me mix stodgy and then do it. So I'm going to put a few casters in. Yeah, I'm not going to put loads in. A little bit of worm. Yeah, not loads. And then some dead reds. So again, not loads. Probably, what's that? 60 maggots in there. Give that a mix too, because I only want sort of like 3 or 4 hook baits in every little ball that I'll make. So that is my initial starting point, and then what I need to do is just add water to that, which we've got here, and I need to make it like I'm going to say like a paste consistency. So when you add in the water, just do it little bits at a time. You see how stodgy and how quickly it goes. You can't get your ground bait straight out of the bag and mix it like this, because it'll go absolutely rock hard. You need to make sure your ground bait's mixed first and then do this mix. It's such an effective way of fishing, folks. Can't tell you. In fact, that's done it in a one actually. What I like to do is give it one of them, then you can see it all sort of forming together. So it's in a ball like that, basically like a paste. Now what I'll be doing off that is just breaking a little bit off, like that, and that's what I'll be feeding. Yeah, you in on that, Rich? That's what I'll be feeding, little tiny ball. Now the beauty of this is, because there's no sort of attractions, there's no loose particles coming off that's going to go straight down to the bottom. And then certainly with skimmers, they absolutely adore it because they're attacking that ball. Yeah, like a little ball of paste, they're attacking it, and then there's breaking bits off, and you can see there's hardly any in that. There's a caster there, there's a maggot there, and that's all we've got. So we've got 2 maggots and a caster in that mix, and probably a little bit of worm. That's all we've got. Now, obviously, it's all about judging on the day how often you're feeding. If the fish are really having it, then you might want to put in a little ball in like that every fish. But usually with skimmers, 3 or 4 fish, and then put a little ball in. And there's always, folks, you know, I love to fish for skimmers. I'll be fishing around my bait as well. So where I put the bait in, I might go left and right, a little bit further out. I will have a little babby section behind me. But that sort of stodgy mix like that, folks, honestly, it's so effective. And hopefully I'm going to show that to you now. So without further ado, we're doing this in a one as well, folks. I've not put any bait in. Normally I like to have a little babby go first, but we're just doing this in a one and we're going to see what happens. So without further ado, let's see what happens. Ha-ha!
Right, you lads, very, very sorry to interrupt your video watching.
How dare you?
Quickly, if you haven't already noticed, we have managed to write a book, haven't we?
Yes, we have, Jamie.
Which is full of all our very bestest methods and features or whatever else we do on this wonderful subject of fishing. So if you haven't had a look already, go and have a look at winningways.shop and buy one for yourself.
Here we go then, folks. Pouring down rain, but we are bringing you this quality content. And of course it's quality, because I'm on the box. So first things first, can't wait to get going. But we've got to feed it. So, feeding wise, remember, I'm starting off on me sort of loose ball, if you like. I want it to break up pretty quick. Now, I've got my ground bait here, as you can see on GoPro, and I'm going to put, in fact, I'm going to bring it round to reshad so we can zoom in, but I'll show the GoPro how much bait I'm putting in. Hardly any. What's there? Sort of like 15 magpies or something like that. Hardly any there. They go in the corner. A few casters. So same quantity of casters, sort of 15. Now the reason, you know, I don't like an odd number, but 15 and 15 is 30, even number. You know what I mean? Just saying. And then a tiny, tiny pinch of worm, yeah? Hardly anything. I don't want to commit myself too early. Now I'm going to come round towards you, Richard, so you can focus on that there in the corner. You're getting on that? He's on it. And I'm just going to fold a bit of ground. What's this line coming from here? Is that you, Rich? Put that down there. Just going to fold a bit of ground bait in that, and then I'm just going to literally just give it one of them, yeah? So all my bait is in that little parcel of goodness in there. Now, obviously, starting off wise and getting straight on it, because obviously the fish is still quite active, it's still pretty mild, that's why I'm putting that much in. In the winter, I'll probably put half of that in and half of the bait content as well. But I would 100% still start off this same way. I just want to give it that instant just get fish in the peg. Because obviously that cloud falling through the water will attract the fish. So, this is getting shipped out in one. Now you'll see here, as I always do folks, I've got my little babby half extension and I'm lining that with my middle leg, my little babby middle leg, and then I've got my marker in the, well, I did have my marker in the distance, which was like a digger crane, but the diggers decided to move, but luckily I've got a spare peg that I can go for as well. Now I'm going to put this in low to the water. I don't want to tip it from a height, so right on my marker there, let that sink, lift up. And you can see, I don't know, you probably get a little bit of that cloud on camera. Because Richard is good on his cameras, is Richard. So, that goes over there, that goes over there. And then we are starting off with, I'm going to go for double dead red to start with. Not got any live magpies at all, just double red. So, first thing I'll do is just get a pinch out and put them on my knee there. Reason being is you'll get some like dead reds that are like that one there. If we hold that one up, it's not a nice coloured one, that one. I'm not swearing at you folks, promise. It's not a nice coloured one there, but if you just get a few out and put them on your knee, you can actually pick out the good ones. So I'm going to get that one there, I'm going to go right through the tip, and I'm going to get that one there, right through the tip. Now obviously the colder it is, I'll probably start off on a single, but there we go, double dead red start off on. So that bait will be on the bottom now out there. Now the way I lay this rig in, because ultimately, obviously, we want to focus on these skimmers, we want to get straight down there. I'll be flicking the rig out, bringing me shots back to where I put my bait in, and then flopping my float back over, so I'm getting straight down, I'm fishing pretty much straight away. I fully expect to catch little babby fish first, folks, little babby roach, there's so many in here, but hopefully it shouldn't take us too long to get into them skimmers. So my shots are over, flop my float over, and then there, you see how quick we're fishing already. Now, wind will want to blow my float out a little bit. Now, that was a little dink then, I think. The other thing that I will do is lift and drop. Just done a big lift and drop then. But I'm not going to leave it too long before lift and drop. There we go. So you see, it's so good. But I'm convinced that skimmer then came off that big lift and a drop. Yeah, so it's fish like these, folks. Obviously, the colder it gets, these are what you'll be catching on your little babby expander A's. But this time of year, when they're still a bit active, they are flipping it, they are weight builders. Now, I don't like sort of bigging myself up and things like that, folks, but match last week at the Glebe, that's what it was like, that's what I was catching. So they are pretty chunky. I'm going to say that's sort of 6 ounce that. So like 3 of them are just over £1, you know what I mean? Look where he's hooked, perfect in there. So he goes in there. Now this is the beauty of using these kinds of baits. So you see my bait still intact, getting on that Richard. Yeah, bait's still intact, but this is the thing you've got to be wary of, folks. You see that little tiny bit of slime on my hook? If there's any of that on your hook, up your hook length, get it off. Don't fish with any slime on whatsoever. So the first thing we've got to do is just clean that hook, clean your hook length, and then we're straight back in business again. This is how quick it can be. It's such an amazing way of fishing, and that's why you use a nice soft elastic as well, so you can just ship back in the water. So rig out to the side, pull that back, weights in, flop the float over, hoink, fishing. We're fishing now, fishing straight away. So we're fishing within sort of like 30 seconds. And most of your bites will come as that, them skimmers do like to watch your bait down. Again, that's another benefit of using that longer hook length. So longest I'll leave it, that was a little dink then, longest I'll leave it settled will be 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I've not even had a chance to give it a proper lift yet, but 20 or 30 seconds and I'll give it a bit of a movement. Now, the thing with skimmers is obviously the colder it gets, the worse the bites will give you. But basically, if it looks like it's moved, then it probably has done. So give it a lift. Now I'm going to give it a lift and a drop and show you the difference. Oh, there's one on there. Oh, that was a little babby one. It fell off. Is there slime on? No, we're all right. I think that was a little gudgeon or something like that, folks. Then, but I was just about to move that. I'll let that settle again, and I'll give it a little babby movement. So at the minute, I mean, obviously we're going to fast forward everything today for you lovely lot, but at the minute, I mean, this would probably last at least 15 minutes. It might last 20 minutes. Sometimes it'll last like half an hour. You know what I mean? That initial feed. But you see how quick you're into fish. I'm not loose fed anything. Just literally straight into fish. Another little babby skimmer. Now I'm going to be brave on this one. Ooh! Yeah, I can be brave on them little babby ones. Unhook him. So as soon as this like starts to die, as I said, we're going to fast forward everything in a bit. Not yet. Probably catch another 1 or 2 yet. I've not even got a chance to blooming lift and drop yet, folks. As soon as you feel it start to go, because you can see how quick you're into fish to start with. As soon as that changes, that's when you need to either put another ball in, or what I like to do, as I say, is go to that stodgy mix. Certainly when I know the skim is there to be caught. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're going to catch everything on it, roach and stuff like that, but it's predominantly a way of catching skimmers. So I'll just catch another 1 or 2 on this way. Oh, see what I mean? They're just following that down straight away. Oh. I knew I shouldn't have blooming said we'd bump anything. That can be the only trouble like this time of year with this soft elastic, but could have been far up that, folks. Yeah, I think it was far up that one. There's a lot of fish there. Straight back in with that bait again. That was a bigger fish, that. Now the thing with it as well, certainly with them skimmers, you don't want to be striking hard. Don't want to be lamey rigging constantly, because obviously that over, 5 hours or whatever. I'm on a leaf there, I'm on a bloody leaf. That over like 5 hours will cut into your fish catching time. So what I want to do is just give it a no more than sort of 2 foot lift and then just ship back. I don't want to be lifting my whole rig out and laying it in again. I'm going to get a chance to lift and drop this time. There we go, another little babby one. It's such an effective way of fishing, isn't it? So good. Loads of bites, and obviously we'll catch some great big fish on it as well. Little babby skimmers. Ooh, oh, it's a roach. Go on, the roach. Right top lip. Right, I'm going to change my hook bait on that one because he's folding my maggots over. So again, just get a pinch out, put them on your knee, and then pick them out that way. There we go. An experiment, obviously, with like little worm head and things like that, little worm tail. But generally, if I'm catching on dead reds, that's the bait that I love to use. So flop that over. Right, we'll catch one more on this. I'm going to put that little stodgy ball in and show you how accurate you can be with that. I wasn't expecting this response so quick, folks, to be fair, but it just shows you putting that, sort of active, cloudy mix in first, how it'll attract the fish and get them. I mean, obviously, as I said, we're fast forwarding. I wouldn't change anything at the minute. I'd fish this out until you go, well, you've seen how quick we're catching fish now. As soon as we go, another roach, as soon as we go 2 or 3 minutes without a bite, because everything's come within, seconds of it getting to the bottom, hasn't it? Certainly within 15 seconds. As soon as that changes and you start going to like a few minutes, that's when you know you need to start feeding or putting some more bait in, putting a top up amount in. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you this mix. That goes up there. So it's worth bearing in mind, obviously, because these tips that I'm using, they're so fine, the pots will go back a little bit more. Now you can obviously thicken them up, put a bit of tape on there so you can have them right at the end, but I just like to slide them back a little bit, and then at that end, when I come to put the ball in, I'm going to stretch sort of 6 inches past where my marker is, so I'm not being really accurate. So, come back to there. I've still got my magpies on my knee, because I left them there. So I'll get me 2 magpies, and then I'm going to get my little ball. Yeah, so literally tiny little ball like that. I'll show you on there. Tiny little nugget, yeah, little stodgy ball. We've got sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, there's probably like 5 or 6 magpies in there, a little tiny bit of worm and them casters. We'll put that in first. Now what you can do with this as well, save it bouncing out, just give it a little press, just so it sticks in a little bit. Now, again, I wouldn't change anything yet, but I just want to show you how to feed this mix and that it can be really accurate. So there's my marker. I'm going to stretch 6 inches further past it. Now this is the important bit here. You want to make sure you sneak it in. You don't want to like make a noise. I'll come back to my marker. You don't want to make a noise simply because if the fish are quite active, certainly if there's roach there, they do like noise. They're similar to F1s, so they will come to the noise of you plopping that ball in. Whereas if you sneak it in, there's no particles coming off the bait at all, and it's just sitting on the bottom. That's a tiny little fish. But you can see, obviously, hopefully, Richard's got that on camera, like the little another roach. all the sort of like the oils coming off it, and you know the ground bait fizzing, and how accurate it can be. That's all right. Normally roach is blooming snotty magpies, but that one hasn't. So I'm not feeding again, so you can see how quick it potentially be. Certainly when there's a lot of skimmers there though, obviously we're getting a few roach at the minute, but when there's a lot of skimmers there, what you'll find is they tend to attack it quite well. Another little dink then. So you see how they're watching your bait down. They attack it well, so you might have to feed every sort of 3 or 4 fish. So I think we're getting bites quicker on that little ball than we were initially. Probably about the same, isn't it really? But it just shows you how active you can be, yeah? And how positive. It's a skimmer as well. So it's such a good, effective, clean way of fishing. You're not sort of, you know, wellying loads of bait in to get the fish all at different depths. You all know how much I love to do that, folks. But this style, I absolutely adore it. You can save obviously that loose feeding for your short line, yeah. If you're a bit trigger happy with your blooming arm like me, then you know save your short line for your loose feed. Out there, it's all about this. So you can see how quick we're into the fish. So I think we've got one more quick one. And then I think that's all there is to it basically. All it is just keeping in touch with the fish. One thing that I would say though, 100% with skimmers, if you're not getting bites or you're getting funny bites, foul looking a few, put plummet back on, because 100% them fish will have scoured that bottom out. Yeah, so put your plummet back on, go and re-plummet, and guarantee that you know your float would go deeper, thinking I'm sure I put that over depth. It's not that, it's the fact that the fish have come in and scoured out where you've been fishing. So go a little bit left, a little bit further out, a little bit right, whatever. Oh, we're getting some fish there. So that's, you can see that one, it's blooming overfolding with blooming magpie, but that was another skimmer, definitely. Got to catch another. I can't not end on a fish, folks. I'm going to catch another one, and then I think we'll finish it there. But you see how quick that, or how long that ground bait will last. Lasts for blooming ages. It's so good. Let that get down there. I've not even had to blooming lift and drop yet, folks. It's so good. But definitely, like the length of your float, lift, and then a drop. Will make a difference, certainly to them skimmers. Obviously we're on our own, there's going to be loads of fish there. See, that was a little dink then. In fact, I'm going to do it now. So lift. Oh, there was one on then. I'm not even getting a chance to blooming lift and drop. It's so good, isn't it? I say, as long as you sort of like going that distance, I'd say minimum of like 11 metres on this line, so you're not splitting the fish with your short line. Your short line wants to be sort of like 5 or 6 metres, long line minimum 11, ideally 13. There we go, a little blobby roach. It might be a poppadom actually. And that, oh, it is a roach. So they're not bad stamped roach them actually, but it just shows you obviously, yeah, we are going for skimmers, but if there's everything swimming in the lake, you are going to catch everything swimming anyway. Now, there, in a wanna, obviously proves how effective. Which one am I looking at, Richard? Go on, the alien. In a wanna proves how effective this style of fishing is, yeah? You can see it, bite a chuck, and that'll last with you. Fish your initial mix out, yeah? Use it as a draw to get them fishing, and then go to your stodgy mixes. And you can see, like, we've had, what, 4 or 5 fish on one little stodgy ball. You just keep going until something changes. So if bites are coming really quick like they are, as soon as you go like a minute or 2 minutes without a bite, you know you need to change something. And that's what it's all about, that style of fishing. It's absolutely phenomenal. It works really well. It'll work all the way through winter as well. Winter time, you might want to put one ball in like what we've done, and you might catch 8 or 9 fish on it because they don't want the feed as much, but 100% they attack that little ball. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, folks. Get out and give it a go, and yeah, let us know how you get on.